Tony, you going to join us, do you think? We didn't hear otherwise. He still has 15 seconds.
So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
expecting him to be here.
Got it.
Joe, would you like some water?
Oh, yeah, I wonder if I'm gonna go and get in there just in case. Thank you.
There's 22 hours.
Right on time.
Nice. All right. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock on Wednesday, March 6th. Could we have roll call, please, Sarah?
Yes. Director Aguirre?
Here,
Director Harris? Here. Director Laliotis?
Here?
Vice President Finn? Here. President Bender?
Here.
Thank you.
And this is for the regular meeting of the Truckee Donner Public Utility District. I think I left that off. All right. Pledge of Allegiance. Joe, you want to lead us in the pledge? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Okay. GM Wright, any changes tonight to the agenda?
There are no changes this evening.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, public comment. Any public comment on any matter not on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none. All right, now we're on director update. Oh, that's okay. That's Krista Finn. It's okay.
Shall we start on this end and I don't have director's comments.
No, hey, that's good. Or not good. It's okay.
I don't know. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. It's been, there was a blizzard, so.
Right, there was a blizzard.
Yeah, my.
Good job, everyone.
Joe, do you have any director updates? Okay,
Yet.
nothing yet, all right.
Thank you.
Tony,
I'll let Kim go first.
all right.
Well, you know me, I always like to take this opportunity to thank all of our crews and our staff, especially this last week that we had these giant storms. I think it was one for the record books, in the top 10 most snow we've received in a day, which is amazing. But we do appreciate all of the hard work and diligence that everybody works, to make sure that we keep electricity on as best we can. Sometimes trees have other ideas, and also the water going. So we do appreciate all the staff out there. So thanks.
Yeah, ditto. I was out in Taladonner the other day, and the crews were out patrolling, and I could see staff was driving in their Jeeps trying to help out, and it takes an effort to deal with these types of storms, and really appreciate staff's time keeping not only the electricity on and the water on, all the generators fueled, everything running, keeping employees, making sure they're safe, sending them home when they need to go home, sending them for rest when they need to have rest. People don't really realize how much goes into running a 24-hour operation like this, and how many resources it takes from HR to the admin staff to keeping the website updated, keeping the board updated. It touches everyone and everything in this organization to keep it running through storms like that. So I want to, say thank you to all the staff, in this organization for pitching in and working hard and taking care of this community. Because, that was, the combination of the conditions were pretty extreme. And I don't think we've seen those kind of conditions, the combination of wet snow, light snow, heavy winds, just sort of just compound on each other to create what we had. So thank you, everyone. Great job. I know there's still cleanup going on out there and snow removal going on out there, and so appreciate everyone's efforts.
Then to go back, I want to thank them too.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
were in my neighborhood a couple of times this last weekend, so I really appreciate the job they were doing, and they were doing the job. They were out there. Thank you again, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Department updates.
Good evening, President Bender, members of the board. My name is Jared Carpenter. I'm the Electric Utility Director, and this is the Electric Department update for the past month or so. Next slide, Brian. So in short, we had a transmission outage on 219 that affected about 5,600 customers. It lasted about 6 hours. It was due to a transmission thing on NV Energy's side. So we did learn a lot more about their system to actually hope reduce some of those, because that would actually be the 7th one of those we've had this year, which is a lot. Most of them are pretty short, though. I have a list of the projects we're kind of working on right there as well, in case anyone's kind of keeping everyone reminded of what we're working on right now, and some are pretty fun and exciting. But figured I'd jump into a quick update of what happened with the storm. So in step one, we're still responding. It's not over yet. We're getting close. Next slide, please. So right now, says 409, but we have about 4 customers that don't have power right now due to things in our system that we're trying to get to, a tree down or something in the way. Some of those, the people are trying to get to them tonight even. Last I heard, there's only one customer who's a permanent customer that's still missing power. These are all in Donner Lake, on the west side of Donner Lake. So just a few tweaks and things here we're trying to get to. So made a lot of progress there. At the peak of the storm, we lost about 10% of our customer base total, spread out for a number of hours at a time. And it was about 3,500, a little more than that, calls that came in through CRC over the weekend and whatnot. So there was a lot of calls that came in for us to respond to and get back to and figure out how to repair as well. The crews were working about 17 to 20 hours per day. It was definitely dicey with the wind. I read that they exceeded 170 miles per hour in some places. That was not surprising, because seeing what they were doing out there seemed pretty wild to watch in person. One thing, a little bit of a side note, even CAISO called a transmission level emergency event for all of California, but there was something going on in the Humboldt area, which I bring that up because let's say we had lost the NV Energy feed, one of them, especially the weaker one especially, and we always are considering taking the PG&E feed from the summit if we had to. I'm not sure if that would work if they're in a transmission emergency event in CAISO. So one new little wrinkle to toss into our thinking as we're moving forward here. But it's important we point these things out to make sure everyone's aware there are significant transmission issues in California, and it is what it is. So it's just, let's never forget about it as we plan forward. One thing I want to definitely point out as much as possible is for all people, everyone listening, always assume a down power line is energized. So I actually grabbed, hang on, get it. Trying to do a little bit of show and tell. This is actually a piece of where a power line came down. And I'll leave it back there. Everyone can look at it closer later, but it's where the sand and whatnot in the dirt was turned to glass. So it's just glass now. And there's one of the power lines that came down. You kind of see how much damage it has. That's where a line's hitting a tree or something else, and it's just, you know, cooking the line, cooking the tree, cooking everything before it comes down. So let me throw it back. There, let's put it here for now. So I just reiterate that to say a down power line can still be live. It could clearly hurt someone greatly. So please, everyone, always stay away from them. Just call us. Don't even go near it. And if you're within 12 feet, you're in the danger zone. So just stay away. Similar to folks mentioning earlier about there's a lot of people involved in these storms. It's really the entire company. So Water's department, they're moving snow, plus their own jobs too. There's things IT are doing, especially prep for the storm. Customer service has a ton to do, of course. Facilities, HR. Obviously, if you saw anything on the online being posted, that's Alex and Steven posting constantly. So that's a lot of communication that we speak the entire time. It really is a team effort across the whole company. So it's frankly, we have a lot of fun during them. They're exciting events, and we're just trying to stay positive and happy to work through them as fast as possible. So it's a good time, but the top priority is kind of staying positive and getting things fixed. But it's very important not to go down the negative slides there. So really fun team to work with here, and it went well. I want to throw a special thanks out there and there where there's some things that kind of happen along the way that often we don't think about. So there's a couple random cases where someone came in, because some of our crew, they go home at night. They live here in Truckee, and they choose to go home because they have families. They got to get home to their families. So when they get home and they find their neighbor shoveled their driveway, it means a lot to them because they're getting home at 2 in the morning and they got to be back here at 6 or 7 in the morning. That's that one more hour they spend with their kids and their family. So that happened to a few people. And so Town of Truckee, thank you to people who did that. Restaurants stayed open for an extra hour to have a warm meal. They didn't have to do that, and a few of them did that on a couple occasions. Really nice too, and they wanted to go home as well. So appreciate them a lot too. Everyone that was friendly, of course, always appreciate them, and of course the families of the staff too, who have to kind of live with their folks and their family not being home for a number of days straight. So definitely the crew and everyone here too, but those folks, it was really nice. So it's excellent. A couple of pictures, kind of some visuals to help people understand what was really going on here. So some of these outages, they happen in areas that without much snow, we couldn't get our equipment to them. So like the picture to the left there, the guys are climbing poles. They got to go in snowshoes, climb poles, bring equipment, and make repairs. That tree that came down there in the right picture, that tree came down while our guys were working on the line just above it. It was extremely close. I won't even get into the details of it, but that was not, we came and found it that way. It was there when they're in the bucket working. So close calls. That one to the left, this is when the storm is getting a little better. That was the Donner Lake, the majority of Donner Lake. That's the pole there. Trying to even see it with the snow, if you have a hard time seeing the picture, it's just as hard when you're working on it live, trying to repair it. It's really hard. So they tried multiple times to fix it temporarily and had to get out of there because of the wind. And the entire time, all those trees above it, they're just swaying and cracking. And these guys are working right underneath that the entire time. But the picture to the right there, if you look at it closely, you see the old poles kind of there at an angle, the new one's in place there. So it was repaired. It took a little longer than we wanted to, of course, but kind of hard to work on a bucket truck when the wind is moving them over 100 miles per hour. Trees down the road. And same picture again next to it is because a tree, it wasn't that one, but it's a very similar one to that one. It comes down, you see a wire in the road, partially under the snow, kind of scary. People can't access it, but when that thing hits that line, it grabs the pole and pulls it and snapped it up top. So tough, difficult repairs, but a tree coming down, that's the kind of damage it did. We didn't have many broken poles this storm. It's kind of really weird actually, but we had a lot of broken wire in really, really hard locations where our gear couldn't get to it. So, and you can only snowshoe for so long before you get pretty tired. So some of our guys, there's a lot of snowshoeing this past few days. Next slide, please. Yep. So this one too, I also want to call out, that tree on the left, again, these pictures are all taken during the storm, so they're not hard to see. But you see that little rotten kind of darker points inside the tree? Yeah, the wind snaps them when they're a little rotten there. And then on the one to the right there, our engineers are either engineering on the fly or afterwards to make sure what we repaired it is actually going to work. got to go in after sometimes and engineer after the fact to make sure we didn't make a mistake with what we installed. We do everything we can to make decisions on the fly, but sometimes it is what it is. I wanted to bring this up too because originally this is a picture I was going to show you guys, and it's called Business as Usual. It's a fun little fact that happened. Remember the last meeting is here, I was showing that the wind turbine, the blade that broke, so the lightning strike, the Horse Butte one. One interesting one I learned when I was at UAMPS a couple weeks ago, they had to rent a backup generator, and it was burning about, I think it was 210 gallons for over 2 weeks. It had to burn. And I asked the question, I said, why did you need a backup generator at a wind turbine? It's a lot of fuel to get it up there. And the answer was so obvious when I heard it, because you have to turn the wind turbine. If it just sits there idle, doesn't turn, the wind comes, it'll break it. So you got to turn it into the wind the right angle. So I say that to say, it's complex. All generator types are complex. Sometimes you need a backup generator just to turn the thing so you don't break the entire thing. So that was a fun little thing there. But those are my updates. So thank you.
Good evening, President Bender, members of the board, and the public. My name is Chad Reed. I'm the Water Utility Director, and I'll be doing the water update for today. First off, our month of February, we were down. Our demand was a little bit down. Not terribly shocking with regards to not as much snow, and so we didn't get the visitors, most likely, but not real shocking. But last month, we talked a lot about capital improvement projects. We talked a lot about some of the different pipe replacement projects. We talked a lot about different things. And I'd like to kind of tie the pieces together this month and say, why are we talking about leaks this month? So this month, we're going to talk a little bit about why we're doing some of the pipeline replacement projects and why we're doing. So we start off on the left with some of the bigger leaks that have the sinkholes. Those are easy to locate, right? If a car was coming by, it'd be stuck in there. To the geysers that we see in the middle, to the large split that we see there. To the next one that we see these little leaks. These little leaks often don't surface. So it's requiring us to go about this with slightly different methods than what we would traditionally do. A lot of times you'd wait in the past and you would have the customers call and they'd say, hey, we're seeing water come out of the street, and we'd say, we're on our way. We're on our way. We're going to fix this. We know how to fix it. We're going to take care of it. Those little leaks, though, are not being addressed. And with Senate Bill 606 coming up, we need to start addressing this water loss that we have. And there's also the greenhouse gases that we're going to talk about here in a second that it affects our operations and it obviously costs more money. Next slide, please. So we've started looking at some different technologies. We've been going down different paths and we've been trying to talk about what are other ways than just a historic listen to the pipe. The acoustic is what I would refer to that as method. One of the things that we talked about was the satellite leak detection. Before I get into the hydrant and the using business intelligence, as I denoted, Senate Bill 606 is requiring us to go after our water loss and to start addressing this and going down that path. It's also requiring us to do 2 complete inventories of our system for our water loss prior to the full enactment of this bill. So we're going at different ways and trying to see different ways to do a whole lot more inventory of this in a much shorter time, because the touch time that it takes to actually walk along and listen is very laborious. Next slide, please. So this past year, we did a satellite leak detection. We were able to cover just shy of 230 miles, or the scans, and once we had those scans, we saw 55 points of interest. There was actually a few more, but we were able to actually examine these 55 points of interest with only 10 crew days. So what that means is 1 man for a day is a crew day, basically, is what we're talking about here. It's 1 man day is probably how you should say that. And we're able to locate 20 leaks. So it was a little bit less than 50% that we were seeing with regards to these points of interest. Those are actually really good numbers, because if you were doing this by foot, you'd be walking along mile after mile after mile, and you might not hear anything at the hydrants or at the different locales that you'd be looking at. So we were very pleased with this. One of the other things that we were very happy with regards to the satellite leak detection is this satisfied round 1 of our complete system inventory.
One of the things that they brought up to us, though, is with additional scans, so how this works is it's literally flying satellites over top and it's taking pictures as it's going, and they're calling these scans. So the more scans that you have, they're saying the more accurate the points of interest can get. We only ended up with 7 scans with the service that we had. They obviously offer continuous scans for the right cost, but it wasn't cost effective at this point. So therefore, we went with these 7. They're also continuing to improve this technology as it's going. So every single year as they keep having more and more people doing this, they're able to keep tightening down those points of interest to get them more and more accurate. Next slide, please. The other thing that we talked about was a few months back, you guys approved the purchase of the Orbit's hydrant leak detection. So we did a pilot study this past year, and we were able to see that we have communication problems. This is no shocker to anyone up here that the cell phone is not always continuous as you get into some of the areas of Tahoe Donner and some of the different areas. So we were able to work with this company, and they discovered that by putting some different antennas and by using different technology, they were able to make this applicable to us up here. The other thing that we were really curious about is how are these batteries going to live through the winters? Batteries don't do the best during winters generally up here. And so therefore, we were able to go through a summer and winter season, and we were moving these about every 6 weeks, and we were also measuring how much crew time does it take to do this. It was actually relatively quick, and our one leak detection person could move all the 25 points generally before lunch. They could have them all moved to the new site. So we were very impressed with this, and it showed up with 10 leaks, 10 confirmed leaks. Now, some of these leaks, again, were not necessarily surfacing. And so these little leaks that we're getting is, with the one big one, great, we can go fix it. But these little ones, when you have hundreds of little ones, they're not always so easy to find. It will go into the stream or it'll run quite a ways down. So we were very happy with this. We brought it to you, you guys approved it, and so we now have these 25 units put out in the field to go after the leaks that were, or going after additional leaks. Now, we've talked about satellite technology, we've talked about an acoustic or microphone technology. We want to talk about the next thing that we're doing. Excuse me. Last year, you guys approved the purchase of a Vulton meter for Glenshire. In Glenshire, we have one connection that's going, or one service lateral, or one service that's going into Glenshire. We're able to see all the water that's going in there, and with the help of IT, and I got to give a shout out to the staff over there. They did an amazing job of this, of taking not just one database, but several different databases and combining them together, and we're able to start seeing almost real leak time data. And so generally it takes us around about a 36-hour lag. Historically, we've been on a few month lag. And so by the time you got the data, you're like, okay, this is so old, we don't know and what happened. We know we fixed one leak, but did that really address it? And so we had a lot of questions out there. What we are seeing from this data, though, is that we have about a 15% water loss in Glenshire. We found some really interesting data, though, and we're in the process of continuing to look at this. And I have to give a shout out to one of the staff members, Pano directly, has done an amazing job with looking at us and going, I'm not a water guy, so just tell me what it is. How can I make the database do what it needs to do? And we sit there and we talk through these things, and we've been able to start looking at it and saying, is it the actual meters? And when we see demand go up, do we see loss go up? And if we're able to start correlating different things, we can start making more informed decisions on how we should be going and where we should be putting our money. Is it in a pipe or is it in a meter? The other thing that we're able to do is this next summer, we're looking at putting more of these master meters out throughout the system. And we're able to start going through and saying, why are we replacing pipe in your neighborhood versus your neighborhood? And if we can start correlating this to where we're seeing the biggest leaks, we're able to start making much better informed decisions, excuse me, and go out and talk to our customers and say, this is where your money is going and this is why it's going. Another thing that this is doing is we recently had the greenhouse gas study that has been going on. Part of scope 2 is the energy that we're using. So every drop that we're saving is helping with rates, it's helping with that greenhouse gas, and it's helping with a precious resource that is not infinite. So we're very proud of the work and the interdepartmental work that we've been able to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Bender and members of the board. I'm Jillian Stewart, Human Resources and Risk Director. I just wanted to highlight a couple of fun events we did this past month. We do a lot of fun culture and team building events, and we had two really successful ones. We did a Super Bowl potluck the Thursday before the Super Bowl. I think this was the highest attended potluck in my tenure here. So we really found what gets our team motivated. It is appetizers and finger foods and sliders and wings and all that. So every department participated by not only eating, which happens a lot, but also cooking and participating in bringing their specialty dishes. So that was a fun event. And this was a new one, Leap Day Relay. We wanted to celebrate Leap Day this year, just something a little bit different to mix it up. And our Culture Club came up with this concept, and it turned out to be an unexpected success and a lot of fun. It took almost zero effort and maybe lasted 3 minutes, but the value and the return was very high. So it was teams of 3. You had to do hopscotch and then a potato sack, so leaping, obviously the theme here, and then jump roping all the way back. And so our winners there are with the blue ribbons. And it was also, this is a fun team to have won because they're all from different departments. We have a member of conservation, finance, and then our brand new customer service representative just jumping right in there and participating. So that was a fun event. And then, as I mentioned last month, we would love you all to help us celebrate our core value recognition winners for the month. So last month, Dave Emery, one of our electricians, won for integrity. Dave was recognized by his peers for being a coworker you can count on when given a project. His consistency and attention to detail is valued by everyone he supports. It's important to have people around you who you know can get the job done, and that is Dave. So thank you, Dave, for your hard work. And then Allie Spanny won for accountability. Over the past several months, Allie has done a tremendous job of developing her skill set so she can help in processes and procedures where there's been a knowledge or resource gap. She has guided and collaborated with other staff members through this process and has not been afraid to make, admit, or learn from any mistakes or missteps along the way. She's been accountable to her job, the district, and the team by taking on this challenge, and her hard work does not go unrecognized. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Bender, members of the board. I'm going to give a quick update on communications and strategic affairs. I'll ask you to hold off on that one for just a second, Brian, if we could. Couple things that we had in there. We did share our IRP effort, and we linked the presentation to the website and really made that available to the community. And that's coming back next meeting. So we're in process, but we're encouraging people to engage, spend time with that, and help us. You know, the more people know about it, the better we'll be on implementation. We did send out a February 7 board meeting press release recap, which talked about the IRP and the key actions from that meeting. We were the district, and now I'll ask for that picture, recognized for transparency in finance. And we put a press release out on that. The recognition came from the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA. And I think the photo shows our top crack team that does our financial reporting, and they're doing a great job. I do want to talk a little bit about storm communications. It was mentioned earlier. We really want to get people to sign up for Smart Hub and get customized alerts. But in larger and exceptional events, there's value to using the website and our social channels and our other channels to get the word out. There was a sensational lead up to this blizzard. And as soon as it started, and on Friday afternoon when we started having outages, we started timely and relevant communications driven by electric ops. So appreciate getting good information that we can share. Outage updates are the main thing. People want to know that we know they're out, and then they want an ETR. And so it's pretty simple, but it's hard to do. We use our web banner and our outage map primarily as the two main tools, and customers can go there anytime. And on the outage map, and this is something new this year, we're taking our updates and we're actually posting them sequentially so people can follow. And on the web banner, it's the latest one, and we don't want to take up the whole homepage. But it is a way for people to be able to kind of track the chronology of what we're going through. Social, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and then we did additional social posts, sharing conditions, and educating on the complexity of the work. Our efforts were boosted by the town of Truckee, and we appreciate that. It was covered by CNN, Vegetation Management. LA Times had a story on the storm and a link to our outage page, us in Liberty. Even Al Jazeera picked it up. So it was big news. What's up now are the kind of social media posts and interactions. We had 85 total comments. 80 of them were positive or neutral, 94% for the mathematicians. And we got a lot of kudos, including from Assemblyperson Dolly, posted in response to one of ours, Lisa Wallace at the Watershed Council, David Diamond at the Airport Board. So the community's seeing what we're doing out there. Got a lot of appreciation for the crews, for the support, and for the communication. And that's my update.
Awesome, thank you. All right, I think,
That concludes department updates, and I hand it back to you, President Bender.
perfect. Okay, so we've got a healthy consent calendar tonight. Mr. Gross, I see item number 11. Annual resolutions for special tax, Grace Crossing. So, can I just abstain from that, or do I need to leave the room? Or if you could remind me, I always forget,
Sure.
to be legal.
So this is an item that you would announce that you have a conflict because you own property in that area, and that you're going to recuse yourself from the item. And because it's on the consent calendar, as long as it's not pulled from consent for discussion, you can remain on the dais and vote. And your vote on that particular item would be recorded as an abstention or a recusal. If the item is pulled, then you should get up, leave the dais, leave the room, and then come back after that item has been finished.
Perfect.
Clear enough?
Clear. Thank you.
Good.
And I had a question of clarification, and because of the conflict, I noticed that your name is on there to sign the actual document. And I don't know if we need to have the vice president sign it instead of Jeff.
It's probably a good idea.
The
So we-
resolution.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to keep us clean and straight.
Crystal clear. Perfect. All right, so I have a financial interest, and I'm going to recuse myself on item 11. So is there any public comment on any item on the consent calendar tonight? All right, items 8 through 13. Is there any board member questions, comments?
The only change I would recommend is changing the signatory on item 11 from Jeff Bender to Krista Finn, who's our vice president.
Okay.
That's the only change I would make.
Is that a motion?
So I move to approve the rest of the consent items.
I asked, and then, yeah.
I'll second that with Director Harris's addition.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Director Aguera?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Vice President Finn?
Yes.
President Bender?
Yes, with abstention on 11.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay, we have one action item tonight, number 14, consideration of approval of employee benefits changes. Jillian. Yeah.
Not yet?
Now we
we're
can,
good.
there we go. Perfect.
Good evening again, President Bender, members of the board. I am here tonight to present action item number 14, consideration of approval of employee benefit changes. I do have one thing to note before we get started. I wanted to mention that it was brought to our attention that the district code Word document attachment included in the original packet was outdated, and so a corrected hard copy has been provided to the district before the meeting. So a little background and history on this item. Unrepresented employee benefits are negotiated by the general manager and approved by the board of directors. On January 17th of this year, staff presented to the board the salary schedule for unrepresented employees and mentioned that the benefit changes we were proposing would be presented at a future meeting, which is what we're doing here tonight. Proposed changes to benefits require updates to District Code Title IV Personnel. This codifies employee benefits for our employees not represented by the MOU with the union, and as well as other personnel policies. The first proposed benefit change that we are presenting tonight is the vision plan. This proposed increase would be from $400 to $500 per participant in our vision benefit. This is for active employees and their dependents. This benefit has been at $400 for well over a decade. Part of this plan is also to update the post-retirement benefits for this, and it would be $500 for retiree vision benefit for those retirees who are retired after January 1st of this year and moving forward. And then the benefit would remain $400 for retirees in 2023 or prior years. Vision, correct. Paid sick leave cash out option. We're proposing to reduce the minimum required accrued hours to cash out your sick leave from 600 to 500. Cash out is an optional elective for employee and payout, and the payout is valued at 50% of base rate pay. Next up is a wellness benefit program. This establishes a new benefit program for the district. It was budgeted in our 24 and 25 budget. It would be up to $500 per employee per year. It is considered taxable income for the amount received by that employee. It does not roll over into the following year. Resolution 2024-04 adds wording to this new item. And the next couple of slides, I will go through kind of a draft program of what this wellness benefit will look like. So up on the screen is a draft of the plan, which has been created after review of other similar plans at other companies and benefits administrators. This plan includes an explanation of eligible participants and expenses. Here is just a sample of common items that are included in a plan, so potential eligible expenses that we are considering. Our team has provided feedback to have a desire for more options and flexibility with our benefit offerings, and this plan accomplishes that. Therefore, we're hoping this becomes a highly utilized and valuable benefit for our team. And this slide demonstrates how claims will be submitted, reviewed, and processed. So again, this is a draft of what will be issued out when we're ready to roll out to the team, if adopted. This line by line, yeah. So to process a claim here, we have that it needs to be, you'll fill out a claim form with itemized expenses so that we can make sure that it is considered an eligible expense. It'll show date of service, type of service, cost, and amount paid. We have in here timelines to allow us at least 2 full business days to review the claim and process once it's been received. reimbursements will be processed weekly on Fridays, and it'll be through direct deposit into your bank account, or a check will be sent to your home. Bank deposits could take a few more days. You'll have 30 days to submit claims at the end of the plan year. In the event that your employment is terminated, you'll lose that coverage, and you'll have 30 days to submit claims for expenses accrued prior to your benefit termination date. And then we also make a note here for employees to remind them that it is taxable income. This is very much modeled off of flexible spending accounts, if you're familiar with those for either healthcare or dependent care. Next up is our CalPERS PEPRA members employee and district contribution update. So a little background on this. We have two different retirement plans. They're called Classic and then PEPRA. PEPRA stands for California Public Employees Pension Reform Act, and this took effect January 1st, 2013. So employees hired after that time all become PEPRA members. So you can see here below, this is our current employee mix. We have 69% of our employees are on the PEPRA plan and 31% are Classic. The district's intention has been to maintain, as reasonably possible, a close comparison in the retirement benefits for both Classic and PEPRA members since that change in 2013. July 1st, 2023, CalPERS PEPRA member contributions increased 1%. Based on actuarial valuations. This is reviewed annually, and therefore it could change every year, and this was the first change we've had in some time. Our goal in this proposal here is to maintain equity of retirement benefit contributions from the district between the Classic and PEPRA members. So Resolution 2024-04 adds language to include this to district code. A little more clarity here on how this affects a PEPRA employee. So consistently, there's been about 13.03% of wages withheld from a paycheck since PEPRA was enacted back in 2013. The 13.03% has two components of the required minimum employee contribution. A is to the CalPERS pension, and B is to deferred compensation. Since PEPRA started in 2013, as item A increases, item B decreases, and inversely as well to maintain the employee's retirement withholdings at that 13.03%. So effective 7/1/2023, item A increased for employees by 1%, from 6.75% to 7.75%. So accordingly, item B then decreased by 1% from 6.28% to 5.28%. This is the PEPRA employer, so the district's contribution. The two components of the required employer contribution are A, to the CalPERS pension, and B, to deferred compensation match. So effective July 1st of 2023, item A increased by 0.21%, so it went from 7.47% to 7.68%. And due to the employee deferred compensation decrease that I mentioned in the prior slide of that 1%, the district's deferred compensation match decreased by 1%, so from 6.28 to 5.28. It resulted in a net effect for the employer district contribution of a decrease of 0.79%. So currently, the overall effect of this change since July 1st, 2023, is a net effect for the district is a decrease of 0.79%. So a total of 12.9% of 6% of wages for a PEPRA employee's retirement from the district. And the net effect for a PEPRA employee, while maintaining that 13.03% wage contribution, this is determined through a 1% increase in the CalPERS PEPRA costs for that same retirement benefit, 1% decrease in the deferred compensation paid by the employee, the minimum paid by the employee, and then a 1% decrease in deferred compensation paid by the employer match. This language here is the wording that's included in the resolution, and which will allow us to meet that goal that I previously mentioned of trying to maintain the equity in retirement benefits between Classic and PEPRA members. This chart is included to help further demonstrate what we're hoping to accomplish with this update. A couple areas to focus on here is in that top section, the combined retirement paid by PEPRA employee, and how it's been and has maintained at that 13.03%, and is the same in the gray section there in the proposed, maintaining that 13.03% of wages. And in that then bottom section there, part to kind of focus on is the combined retirement paid by employer, PEPRA, was 14% about, drops to 13% with that change in July. And then the gray proposed area brings it closer to 15%, which more closely aligns with the below number there, which is the district contribution to classic members at 15.7%, so all in that gray area. So you can see, it, again, helps us meet that goal of keeping that aligned and more closely related. And the last proposed update here for benefits of the administrative leave. Management and technical employees receive administrative leave each calendar year. In 2022, the board actually improved increasing this leave from 9 days to 10 days per calendar year, and Resolution 2024-04 just amends it to reflect this change. So overall, this resolution incorporates District Code Title IV personnel, all the changes that were presented in the previous slides. The effective date is January 1st, 2024. Other than that administrative leave, there's a typo there, it's January 1st, 2022. And benefit item changes by Resolution 2024-04 are effective without any other actions required for unrepresented employees. For MOU represented employees, staff recommends the applicable benefit item changes by Resolution 2024-04 be consistent and in alignment between both unrepresented and MOU represented employees. These changes are currently being reviewed by IBEW Local 1245, and if that is adopted by or accepted by them, this would require a letter of agreement for amendments to the MOU to adopt these benefit changes for the represented employees. So the fiscal impact here, below are the financial impacts for all employees. This is again assuming that the represented group aligns with the represented group aligns with the unrepresented group where applicable. So items 1 and 2, the vision benefit change equates to an estimated $14,000 annually cost impact. Item 3, the paid sick leave cash out is estimated to have a nominal cash outflow impact of and $27,500 non-cash expense cost charge. Item 4, the PEPRA district's contribution increase of 2% is estimated to have a 2024 impact of $137,800. Item 5, the administrative leave benefit increase was previously approved by the board and included in the 24-25 budget, so no incremental cost impact there. Item 6, the new wellness benefit was also included in the 24-25 budget for $35,000 for 24 and $37,500 for 25. Savings in personnel and operating costs could likely cover these non-budgeted impacts, and also the district's operating reserves of $6.5 million in electric and $7.7 million in water are sufficient to fund above items 1 through 4 for their non-budgeted impacts. So our recommendation tonight is for the board to approve Resolution 2024-04, amending District Code, Title IV Personnel as presented in Attachment 1, which provides modifications to employee benefits. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any public input on employee benefit changes to the District Code, Title IV? All right, seeing none. Kim, you got some comments over there?
I have some comments. Thank you so much, Jillian, for laying it all out for us and everything. Where I have a question is the wellness program plan. What I don't like about this is putting the $500 into district code. So once you put it in there, that is like, we're bound by that policy to move it forward. So basically, each employee is going to be getting $500 in their pocket for approved items, and I know that they have to go through an approval process. What I would like to propose to the board, and one change that I would like to see, is actually take the dollar amount out and just kind of generally say that there will be a wellness program plan and let, run with this new wellness benefit plan for a couple years to see if it's successful, if you need more money, less money. But I just don't like the idea of putting that people will be able to have $500. I mean, and the other thing where I'm a little hesitant is, I know you said it's similar to the FSA, but a couple items that you mentioned in here were the gym, ski lessons, and fishing licenses, which I am all for employee wellness. I mean, I am the first person that will say, yeah, definitely give them money to inspire them to be healthy. But I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around what kind of behaviors are you trying to change with giving employees $500 for ski lessons?
So again, I kind of mentioned that our staff had given us feedback. They were looking for flexibility, the things that would be a benefit to them individually. And, historically, wellness benefits are, something like, here's just the gym membership, or here's access to yoga, or one size fits all. And so this was based on feedback from things that would actually add benefit, work-life balance, as a core value of ours, and things that for personal. And so this option of having a menu of items was why we thought that would be an addition, because it would add personal value to each employee. And the list there is just representative of some of the things that we considered. So absolutely, we could take feedback and give it a closer look as to, to your point, what are we trying to encourage with this wellness benefit?
Yeah, I guess I just have an issue with, we're a public utility, we're a government agency. I think people move up here because they want to ski, they want to live the healthy lifestyle, and I'm all for promoting the lifestyle that we have. But handing over a $500 and I'm telling my neighbor, oh yeah, by the way, some of your fees, or some of the rates, the costs, the money that you're putting towards your electric and water rates are going to be going towards an employee's ski lessons so they can be healthy. I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time, putting it in district code, because I feel like district code takes away a little flexibility for management to adjust the policy and the programs. But also, I would like to see something, the wellness programs that I have been involved with, people go and get blood draws and they look at risk factors. Are they smokers? Do they have high blood pressure? Do they have, what's their BMI? Are we encouraging exercise? And if they do go out and do all this exercise, is that how they earn the benefit? Or is it just like, oh yeah, I want a new ski pass to Tahoe Donner Cross Country or wherever, so I'm just gonna ask the district to reimburse me for my pass. That's kind of where I'm wrapping my head around, like, I'm all for being healthy. I think people come up here to be healthy, but for me to agree to pay somebody $500 for sporting equipment or ski lessons, that's where I have a hard time.
So I do want to clarify that hard goods is not included in that, so it can't just be the equipment. To your point there, it is to encourage the actual activity to gain that wellness benefit, not just to update your skis annually with your $500. So it is to encourage that behavior change.
Okay. That's wellness stuff. Do you guys want to talk wellness, or you want me to go on with a couple other items that I just had questions about?
Go ahead.
I would just say carry on, and then we can kind of
Okay.
discuss.
Okay. Another thing is, you meant, and I guess it has to do, so it's $500 that go towards their W-2. And then with the 457 plans and the 401 plans that are available, the 457 is something that employees, if they put money into it, I believe that the district matches. Is that how it works here?
That's what we're proposing here, yes,
Okay.
for the PEPRA employees.
Okay,
Correct.
and so with a 457 plan, that is basically the the government's way of providing an additional deferred compensation plan for employees that are in pensions. So you get your pension, because we have CalPERS, and then people said, well, I want to be able to put more money away for retirement. So that's where the 457 plan comes in. The limits to be able to contribute to 457 plans are much less than a 401k plan, which is typical private industry, which I'm sure you know all this already. I'm trying to explain it so people understand where I'm going with this. So employees receive the benefit of putting money into their 457 plan pre-taxed. When the district also matches into that plan, that kind of takes away the opportunity for employees to put their own funds into that. And that's where I think the 401 came in, and district contributions can go into the 401 plan.
Correct. The district's match actually goes into the 401A.
Okay.
Which has an even higher limit than the 457 for IRS contribution limit. So for exactly your point, so that we didn't take away from the ability of our employees to maximize what they can put into 457, the 401A is where the employer puts the match. And our employees also have access to take advantage of the 401A to do their own contributions also into the 401A account.
But if they agree to put money into the 401A account, it's irrevocable, correct? So if they say, oh, they can change it now.
Correct. Annually, we have essentially an open enrollment period in January, and they can adjust it at that time period.
I think that's different than my experience with it. So with these extra monies and the district kind of requiring people to put money into the account, it may just, I think employees just need to realize that it may affect the opportunity for them to put in their own salary into the 457 plan and receive that tax savings.
This is a minimum required contribution, so they can do additional if they want to take advantage of that.
Okay. And I think that those were the only items that I had.
So the vision, was that in the code before, the $400 benefit for vision?
Correct.
Okay. So we're upping it to 500, and then Kim, you don't want to
I don't want to add, I don't
erase
want.
that completely?
No, not the vision. The vision is not where I'm questioning. It's the wellness benefit. It's an additional $500 that's available to employees for their wellness. And I would prefer not to see it in district code. I would prefer to see the program run through GM and management. I mean, you can address it that we have a wellness benefit available, but I'm just hesitant, once you put it into district code, then I know we budgeted for it, and I understand, I questioned it when the budget came up, and you said, oh, we'll be presenting a program for it. And with the program, I didn't realize that that was going to include updating district code for $500 per employee for this benefit.
Okay, so you just have this one thing, nothing about vision, that was a brain cramp.
I mean, it would.
On my end.
Well, on the other.
On my end.
I know. And then retirement, the retirees who are on a fixed income, I'm sure that they're, I don't want to say bummed, but, they could probably also use the additional $100 for, a year for their vision. But I don't know if that's kind of a sticky wicket of adjusting retiree benefits and making it just consistent for everybody.
Okay, I'm not clear
Okay,
on
what
the
they're
vision.
saying, okay.
Let's just do vision.
Okay, just the vision. What they're saying here is that they want to increase it up to $500 from $400. But if you're a retiree and you're already retired, then you still get $400.
Oh,
President Bender, it's up to the, discretion and pleasure of the board to, these are proposed benefit amendments. Back in 2021, we had a discussion with the board in terms of the increases in future benefits. Are they for current employees and future employees, or are they for past employees? At the time, the board and staff made a determination that these increase in benefits that are negotiated by the unrepresented and represented staff were for current and future employees for employee retention and recruitment. But it's something the board can discuss and give direction.
Maybe I better interject here a little thing. I got a call today from a retiree. And he was saying to me that in 2020, the board passed an upgrade on the medical from $400 to $600. And he says, I think there was an error in the recording of that vote, because he says the paperwork was not changed. The code on the paper was not changed, but it was changed on our internet. What do they call that? Our website. It was changed on the website, but it wasn't changed in the paperwork. And he says, I think that's where it comes, because I haven't got a $600, I never got my $600 a month on the medical. I'm only still getting the $400. And so he says, since I saw this on the board tonight, I thought maybe, he tried to get a hold of you, in fact, did he get a hold of you?
Yes.
Oh, good. This afternoon then, because he called me kind of late, and he got a hold of you too, Steve, when all this happened. In between the time that 2020 and now, he called Steve also, and Steve says, well, we're doing what Brian wants to do. So what did the board pass at that time that's not happening?
So to do a little bit of walk down past the past board meetings. First, Brian didn't make the decision. It was presented in an open session and a discussion to the board of directors for review and a final determination. What happened was, in the last negotiation of the MOU, there was a provision agreed upon in negotiations to increase the post-retirement benefits. That was negotiated by the current employees for the current updated MOU. It has been past practice of the district and the board to find some means of alignment in benefits for represented and unrepresented employees. So following the negotiations with the union MOU, staff presented to the board an update to Title IV for post-retirement benefits to make the same adjustments, go from $475, I think it was, to $600.
Yeah.
And after that was approved by the board, some of the previously retired employees reached out to the district requesting that those adjustments also be applicable to folks who had retired prior to the new benefit adjustment.
Right.
Staff brought back a new item to address that request.
Yeah, but that was voted on by the board.
Correct. The board gave direction to staff under vote that staff would maintain the updated benefits for current and future employees, not for previously retired employees. So any employees who retired prior to the date of the effect of that new benefit adjustment weren't entitled to the increase. It was only for current employees and future employees.
And that date was 1/1/24?
No, that benefit increase was back in 2020. I believe it was effective
right.
1/1/2020. And so that increase on 1/1/2020 was effective for anybody who retired after that date.
That benefit was not, did you say?
The increase in post-retirement benefits, the increase from 475 to 600 was applicable to any district employee who retired after January 1st, 2020, not prior to that. And that was a decision approved by the board.
So then this employee is retired after that, or after that date?
The employee you're referencing retired prior to that date.
Prior,
Oh, that's right.
before.
Prior,
So they
yes.
get the
And so
475.
one of the points of confusion is that what's in district code posted on our website is the increase in that benefit, but it doesn't have a specific call out that that benefit was only for employees who retired after January 1st, 2020. Staff plans to bring a district code revision project. It's going to be pretty lengthy, all titles of district code, to incorporate all those revisions. But that has already been adopted by the board of directors back in 2020, and that's been the practice we've been implementing since.
I thought they voted in 2020 to upgrade that 475 to 600.
Only for employees who retired after January 1st, 2020. Employees who retired before January 1st, 2020 were subject to the previous post-retirement benefits.
Well, I thought that in 2020, when the board voted on that, it was in the law there. But I didn't know it had a stipulation of the previous date.
Yeah, there was a pretty detailed presentation by staff to the board to make sure that clarification was clearly understood. And there was a vote, I believe it was a unanimous vote at the time, to proceed as presented by staff. And the concept is that the current employees aren't negotiating on behalf of past employees. They're negotiating on behalf of present employees.
Okay, now that's the staff vote. Did the district vote on it?
Yes, we did.
The
We
second
did.
time
Yes,
after
we did.
2020?
We voted on it in
To
2020.
go
and
back
it
to
hasn't-
that didn't include the retirees?
The board decided at that time, we agreed with staff, that the new benefits would be moving forward, that they weren't
Yes.
retroactive. We
Oh, no,
approved
not
that.
retroactive, but from 2020, they were supposed to go to 600.
That's correct, only for people who are employed, currently employed, or retiring.
Okay.
after
In
2020.
talking to him, did you explain that to him or tell him about the date?
I've had multiple discussions with
He
the
said
former,
he
a
has
few
talked
former
to you.
employees,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Oh, and I know it wasn't just Steve, but whatever.
I think that these benefits are, I think these benefits are designed to, show our appreciation of retirees. And when there's a confusion, when a longtime employee retires who is very savvy with district code and with how the board works and everything, I feel like we kind of owe it to him to look into it a little further and really, listen to the previous board meetings and review the documents that are there, and really either to confirm that, yes, in fact, that's what happened, or, no, but just kind of come up to, come to this understanding that, of what really happened. I was not on the board at that time, but I'm more than happy to look into the board.
Review it
do-
all
Yeah,
again.
review the board documents, but I also know that, maybe that's something, I don't know if Jillian was here, so Jillian
No,
wasn't there, so maybe, leave it, maybe, is it possible, Brian, if Jillian and maybe Michael can look at it, or have a couple of people look into it and report back to us, and to this former employee to, kind of bridge the gap, because there are two, it's a misunderstanding or miscommunication or something, but I think it would it would benefit us all to have happy retirees, to look into it.
So
Right,
thank you for
yeah,
that
because-
feedback. I can answer any questions tonight that are, because it's very clear I was part of the negotiation process, and it was a presentation to the board of directors for review and consideration. And the board it's under their purview and discretion to make those adjustments. One thing to consider here is that represented employees are negotiated under an MOU, under employee negotiations and their representation. And so when the district enters negotiations with a bargaining unit, we're talking about a benefits and financial package. And that's something that we're negotiating for the employees represented by IBEW. And so the disconnect there originally was that IBEW, are they negotiating on behalf of past employees who are no longer represented by the union? And so we presented that to the board for consideration. Do you want to, by the board's direction, provide these benefits for past employees? It's not something that's negotiated under the IBEW contract in the previous negotiations. And so if the board would like staff to come back with a new item for new approval and adjust those benefits, we can absolutely do that. And we can bring back the exact presentation that was presented to the board back in 2020 for reconsideration.
I'd like for you to follow that review that you just spoke of.
I'm not, I disagree. I'm not sure that
I don't,
we,
because these people, some of them, and there's not very many retirees. That's what the gentleman said. And, but he says, I think I'm shorted that money, that $125 or whatever, since the vote of the first 2020 vote from the board. And I think it should be reviewed, just like Kim said.
well,
And,
Well, we made a decision
We
at the
made a-
time.
yeah.
And it's to not,
but we didn't have a
provide-
date on if you retire after the certain date.
no, we did.
We
Yeah,
absolutely
I think
did.
that's all
I
horse
can't
pocky.
remember that far back.
You know,
Anyway.
we made a decision to make it for current employees and beyond, not for previously retired employees as of the date that Brian said. So this is kind of, I guess, Kim, I'm glad you brought it up. Joe, you want to rehear it, you know, I mean, that's been our policy of how we addressed it back at that time and prior. If you want to change it for the vision tonight, I'm not ready to change it because, again, that goes against the rest of the policy of what we've been doing for the last few years. So, but, you know, if we want to continue to talk about it, I think that's
Well,
okay.
this policy tonight, it refers to wellness.
No,
Well,
no,
Kim
there's-
has two
I have two
things.
items.
Different
One's wellness and then the other is vision. The vision benefit,
Well, yeah, the
there,
vision is the medical. And I
yeah,
thought that this policy covers the medical and not extra equipment for your skiing program.
Well, there
So
are two different things Kim brought up. One is vision. She would like to include that $100 additional benefit to previous employees retired before
Okay.
a certain
yeah.
date. So it's
From
relevant
4
to your
500.
question.
From
Yeah.
4 to 500.
Right.
But I'm with her in saying that it's not a wellness to build up your equipment.
No, that's something else to
Being
include.
that's another
That's
item.
another item, work-life balance. I actually do it for my own employees, so I actually like it. It encourages people to get out and move, because if you don't move, I'm gonna be blunt, you die. So that's just, you get blood clots and you gotta move. So work-life balance. It encourages people to get out and live healthy lives.
and I just want to reiterate what Jillian said, it does not include equipment purchases.
Right, we're not
So,
buying guns.
we're not buying guns, we're not buying skis, we're not doing any of those things.
Right, we're encouraging people to use.
get
the
outside and
local
use their
gyms
bodies.
And things like that, so,
Which I'm for. I
Right.
just don't want the dollar amount to be listed in the district code.
yeah, so you want the benefit.
I
but
want
you
the
don't want it-
benefit, but I don't want the dollar amount listed in district code.
How hard is it to change things like this in the district code?
Steve?
We're doing it this evening. And so
That's right. That's right.
it's a staff item to the
That's what I
board
feel
for
like.
recommendation.
It's not chiseled in stone, it is not immovable, it is a living document that lives and breathes, and we can change it anytime we want.
So it's important to note that district code outlines policy, not necessarily the programs. And so
Right.
staff's proposal this evening is to incorporate a policy similar to the vision benefit or any of the other benefits. It's outlined in Personnel Title IV. There's a section in there for benefits programs. And so outlining that program so that we have a policy to act under and execute, and then the programs be more manipulative, not manipulative is the wrong word, malleable and adaptable to the needs. One of the feedbacks we had in our all-hands discussions and some of our benefits discussions was that there hasn't been historically a huge uptake for things like gym memberships or very specific programs that, you know, and the feedback was that everyone has their different lifestyles and kind of vision of what wellness means to them. And so this program is modeled after some of the programs we've seen out there in, you know, the health benefits world and other utilities, gives some customization and variability for what staff want to do to make, you know, work-life balance or wellness. You know, outside of this program, I'm working with the Tahoe TINs to look at environmental engagement as a wellness program for both family and staff here. It's trying to give as much options for staff to improve mental, physical, and just life balance wellness.
Yeah, and getting people to actually uptake of those things, because I thought the list of potential wellness opportunities to use that money towards, I enjoyed its breadth because I am not someone who has ever taken advantage of a gym membership because it drives, I can't be inside. Like wellness for me is, it's got to be outside, and I always feel like I always get left out of those sorts of programs when I would totally use $500 to buy my pass to Tahoe Donner Cross Country Center and help me keep moving, you know, when I only have like an hour, right? But so I appreciated the breadth of opportunities people might have to use that whatever amount of money it turns out to be, which $500. But whether or not that $500 lands in code may not be that important, is what, you know, the specificity, like, yes, the wellness program to be funded, but not pinned to a certain dollar amount. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I am all about employee wellness and work-life balance, but I just don't want to put a dollar amount in the code.
Why does the dollar amount exist in the code for the vision, for example?
It codifies for the district to execute the benefit. And so the vision benefits in there with a dollar amount, the post-retirement medical benefits in there with a dollar amount. And so it helps for us to give policy in order to execute. The kind of adaptability is in the programs, and it creates less uncertainty or, you know, it creates less uncertainty and less opportunity or less chance for misunderstanding, the discussion we just had a couple minutes ago.
Right.
With uncertainty how that program, what the limits are, how that's executed, and who's eligible to it.
So you think it is important to have a number amount in the code? A dollar amount for attached to the policy?
I think it is, and I think it's also going to be asked for in terms of when it's, if a determination is made by IBW to include that in their provisions as well, they're likely going to want that dollar amount prescribed as well.
Okay. And moving forward, we can adjust that dollar amount as we see the effectiveness and the uptake of these programs by our employees.
It's in the board's purview to make adjustments to district code as we are this evening.
Okay.
So at any time, we can request it and bring it to the.
So there's two
the
items on this
board
thing,
meeting.
vision and wellness.
Yeah, Kim brought up her two concerns.
Now, I don't remember when the district, when the insurance here didn't provide eye benefit, and the district decided to give us $400 a year towards our eye examination and glasses. And I think if we raise it to 5, that's fine, because things are different in 10 years, I think, when we did that.
Even for the retirees, because what they're wanting to do is limit, it's for anybody basically retiring from a date forward. Anything behind, they would not receive the extra benefit,
An extra 100?
the extra 100.
Yeah, the price on everything has gone up. Now, my bill for my eyeglasses and stuff in of course, the previous years, I don't think I hit $400. It was 350, 364, glasses and all, you know. But right now, I guess it'd be still 400 for me, but if it goes to 500, that's a plus for our employees. And I don't know about
Do you
that
have, do you
wellness thing.
have 2 cents?
Well, yeah, there's a fundamental discussion here, and that is, do we apply post-retirement benefits universally across the board? Because the idea is that they're asking for 500 from 400 or whatever the number is increasing because of inflation, because of cost of
Yeah.
goods, cost of services, everything that's impacting them, whether they're going to retire tomorrow or 5 years from now. So the question this board, I think, needs to understand and talk about is, do we apply that theory universally for retirees? Are they different? Are they not suffering? Are they in a different environment than a retiree who's going to retire tomorrow or 3 years from now or 4 years from now? The goal of these increases is to help keep up with inflation, bottom line.
Brian, do you know how many retirees we have?
Last time we had this discussion, it was in the 20-ish range, somewhere in there. Active retirees still claiming post-retirement benefits. It was in that 20-ish range. Don't quote me, but I think it's in that range.
Around 20 then.
Do you want to, I feel like this is a different policy discussion, not related to this action item right now.
This is a kind of a global, universal policy discussion we have to have that talks about post-retirement benefits and if there's an improvement. And I totally agree with Brian that the current employees are not negotiating on behalf of the retirees. And unfortunately, the retirees have to have a voice of their own to come in and talk about or raise the issue to Brian or to the board members about, equity. And that's generally how it happens. So it fundamentally comes down to us to decide, do we want to afford the same, I'll call it a cost of living adjustment to a
Retirees.
benefit for a retiree who is currently a retiree versus employees who are future retirees.
So I'm not ready to make that decision tonight. And I'd like more information. We've talked about it. I think,
Yeah, clarify
Yeah.
the misunderstanding that we have standing right now.
One of the things we could do is come back with an item to discuss that topic. The inclusion of current retirees wasn't included, or that factor wasn't included in the fiscal impact. So we could come back to the board with that information. When we had the discussion back in 2020, the inclusion of previously retired employees was somewhere in the $90,000 to $120,000 a year impact to budget, I believe. We'll come back and, bring back an item for the board for consideration here, because I think one of the things to consider here is if the board wants to apply it to the current adjustment in vision, do you want to include it in the other provisions for post-retirement benefits? And then at what date? Is it something retroactive? Is it something starting to
right,
date?
it's
So,
different,
yeah.
it's a different discussion.
Yes.
So I think, Kim, you brought up a good point. I think we have requested staff to bring that back to the board. But with what's in front of us now is approving the $100 increase for vision as one of your comments, and just keeping it for our current policy in place. And then staff will bring back, what are we going to do on,
Post-retirement.
correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And if
That
that's
sounds good
great.
to me.
And then the other item is, do we keep the $500 amount in district code? Because I understand administratively to change district code and to go have the discussions for the letter with the union takes time and effort, whereas if we don't put in my opinion, if you don't put a dollar amount in there, it leaves a little more flexibility for management to adjust the program as needed. They have a budget. We budgeted $40,000, and so they have a bucket of money. You know, is it something that, do they want the flexibility to be able to provide more? Maybe somebody has a larger family and wants tickets to Disney. Tickets to Disneyland, it would not be on that list. But, you know, I don't know.
That's
Is the
psychological
family-
wellness,
Yeah,
and you're moving, you know,
exactly.
so.
Yeah, I know. Well, sitting is the new smoking, they say.
So I would add one concern from staff, if the dollar amount's not prescribed in policy, is that it's then imparting that responsibility on staff to make those determinations of which staff members get what benefit or when we change that. And it really creates some uncertainty and ambiguity of what the program actually entails. So if we have a
You have
board.
you have the program already lined out. I just don't want to put the $500 in the district code.
Understood, but the $500 amount will then become a staff decision, not a policy. And so there's a challenge there, but whatever the board decides this evening, we will, implement.
I don't necessarily have a problem with the 500 being in the code. All I'm going to say, and I'm sensitive to your point, your other point, is, I do respect staff's creativity in developing that list, but I also feel there needs to be a balance between the creativity and the transparency and what we are actually trying to accomplish in what we deem as eligible under the program. So, I would encourage staff to give it the reality test, we talk about perception as reality. What's the perception of some goal or some program is deemed acceptable in the wellness, as a reimbursable item? What's the perception? So I would just encourage staff to find a balance between perception and the goal of the program, in what you actually put on the list as eligible.
And will that be in the code, like the specificity of the programs? Or just the number of $500 for a wellness program?
Just the number, that was just a draft. That will be the program that can be adjusted based on kind of review and success and, after some refinement.
Okay, because I think
I don't mind the 500 for vision and wellness, as long as the
No,
Those are
wellness
two
pertains to medical.
Two different. Yeah.
two
So
different $500.
I think we're all good on vision.
Yeah,
500.
That's
we're
right.
happy
for
with that.
current policy. Okay.
And I
then
think
We're
We're
gonna
not
talk
good
about
on
the,
wellness, specifically $500, putting that in the code, which I'm
that's what we still need to finalize so we can. move on.
inclined to accept staff's recommendation, because it is our job, it is the board's purview to be clear, and I think a number makes it clear. It offers clarity to anybody who's on the website and our employees, and there's no ambiguity. It's not 501, it's not 350, you've got 500,
I've got one more question.
To 500.
Since it's,
up to 500.
because it's considered wages now, do we also pay overhead on that amount? So now that $500 has become $900 that will cost the district.
No.
So we're not going to pay work comp on it, FICA taxes? It's,
We can come back and verify that, but we don't believe so.
okay, it doesn't get included into their wages?
It would be on their W-2 as a taxable income, kind of a fringe benefit. This is how it's listed on a W-2.
Okay, good, thanks for the clarification.
Okay, where are we at?
That's your job, Mr. President.
No, I think I know. We're gonna punt on the policy for post-retirees, is everyone?
Yes, because
So
that's not in front of us.
Yeah, that's not in front of us, and so we're all good on $500, bumping it for vision. And wellness, I think most of the board is leaning towards just keeping the number in there.
Well, you have to define wellness for me. I understand that wellness is in the medical area, not equipment, or you can't borrow.
Right, so
get
it's
any
to
money
help.
for
So if-
wellness for going and buying a,
Well, right, if somebody wanted to buy a pass under this policy,
Yeah.
if we approve it,
Well, how can they do that?
they would buy it and submit it to Jillian, and they would get reimbursed, say, for example, the Tahoe Donner
why?
Nordic
We're not
Pass.
gonna buy equipment for everybody.
No,
No,
we're
no,
not,
we're not buying
that's on
equipment for
them.
anybody.
No, that's no equipment,
No
just a
equipment.
ski pass, so they can just, go
Access the
skiing.
mountain.
Access.
You
That's
can
not
go outside.
wellness.
It
That doesn't
is.
have part of medical or anything like that.
Well, wellness is overall wellness. We're talking about physical, mental, medical,
Yeah.
wellness is, I look at it as a very broad.
And it's the things that you do to keep you away from the doctor's office.
Exactly.
Yes,
Which
so
is
it's
medical.
important.
Yeah.
It's
right,
pre-medical.
right. Pre-medical,
Exactly.
Right.
Medical.
right.
No equipment.
Yeah.
No
No
equipment.
equipment.
We're all agreed, no
No
equipment.
ski passes.
Yes, ski passes, no equipment.
Kim, if we have it in the code for
I
a
know I
year
don't
and you
ski.
still don't like it,
We'll
because
revisit
we're
it.
talking about code for,
gonna be
Brian's
all year.
threatening, code updates.
Which I think are vital. I mean, we have to continue
I
to
personally just
evolve.
would like to see the program run for like 1 year, and then maybe let's put it in after a year. They've got the money budgeted, you've got the program already put together. We can add it to district code that you're gonna have this wellness program. Like I said, I just don't like it in there that, oh, you get this $500 extra wellness program. I mean, it's there, it's, the money's budgeted, program's there. I just don't like to put it into district code.
Why don't you like to put it into district code?
Because district code, the past changes in district code, I was looking, they did a lot of changes in 08, 09, and 10, then another one in 14, another one in 20. It's not, they don't change district code as often as you think. Although it sounds like we're gonna be coming up to changing district code more often, but there hasn't been a district code change in 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's because the board doesn't have the appetite for it. But if there's something in the code that, I think any one of us could bring up to Jeff, who could bring it up, things in code.
I'm all
that-
for the employee wellness, I'm all for that stuff.
So you're afraid the 500 is going to get in there and it's never going to
Gonna
leave?
get in there and it's gonna kind of go off into oblivion and I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me. The wellness program, absolutely. And it's not that I don't want to give employees, the inspiration and motivation to, for work-life balance. It's just that I just think when it's in district code, it's one of those gimmies that once you give it, we won't be able to take it away. Not that I want to take it away,
Right.
but I just,
That's universal, though, the idea. I mean, even if it was in a management MOU or the union MOU, it's a negotiated item, and it becomes fairly
Codified.
entrenched in a document. And so that's where I'm not, I feel like, I'm used to it being in a management MOU or a unrepresented MOU or a IBW, or a union MOU, not necessarily in district code. So this is a little bit different, but at the end of the day, once those benefits are in those documents, it's all about give and take at that point. So I don't have a concern. That's why I don't have a concern where it actually is going to be. I've expressed what my concerns are about the program. And that's a staff, express what my concerns are to staff about developing the rest of the program. But I just don't see a concern about putting it in district code. That's just my 2 cents, because I feel like it's there.
Okay, Kim,
No, and it's not, well, and don't, I mean, we're all explaining our points
Yeah,
of
no,
view, and so,
that's
you
why-
know, I want
Kim,
everyone
are
to be
you
clear. that-
you're okay with maybe a year trial
Well,
and see how much
the
it's
money is,
abused?
yeah, the money's in the budget.
That's what I
The
mean.
program has been developed. I've just, like I said, I'm just hesitant in putting it into district codes because district code doesn't, there's not a lot of changes to district code. And I would just like to see this program run for a year at least.
I'm with you on that because I can see we can see how much it's abused the other way.
I feel like if we don't have a number.
We can gauge it to 1 year? Steve? Is the only, can we limit it to 1 year?
To see if the program is really gaining what it was intended to do.
Yeah.
So would it be,
Answer is yes, it's a policy. You can do whatever you want. What I hear the tension in the discussion is how do you give employees certainty as to what that benefit is unless you set that level in the policy?
And it's.
500 right now.
Well, it's set in the budget. We have it in the budget as an item, and we have it in the procedures of what it is. There, I mean, a similar item that the employees receive is the safety incentive, and I don't think that that's in district code.
So just one more
I
comment.
mean, where is, I'm just asking to postpone putting it into district code.
Yeah.
The $500 amount for 1 year.
So just keep in mind, district code, as Brian said, is a compilation of policies. The board adopts the policies, the board can change policies. And sometimes the board changes a policy and there's a lag in time between board action to change the policy and that actual change showing up in the code, in the written code. Okay, and that actually was happening with the retiree medical benefit, right? So it's possible to change the policy without, updating the code. Eventually, the code gets updated. It's the board policy, it's the board's action that is effective and what drives. So you can adopt it for a year or not, is the simple answer to that question, though.
Is the PPE benefit in the code? Isn't the personal protective equipment, don't we have an allowance for?
that's,
That-
personal protective equipment allowance is something in operational budget that we set limits to
Yeah, the
for our
district
staff.
pays for all that.
They,
Is that in the code?
not in district code, no.
Oh, okay. Brian,
Oh,
what
yeah,
do
as
you,
Jillian stated, it is in the MOU, though.
it's in the MOU.
Yeah.
Yeah, the district pays for the equipment that we use for repairs and tools and stuff.
So what is staff's intent on codifying the number in the code? I'd like to hear that again, please.
Very much similar to the vision benefit or any of the other benefits kind of prescribed in district code. It's kind of a reminder that our personnel policies at the district are in district code. We don't have a separate benefits package or policy adopted by the board. It's in district code, with the exception of the represented employees. They have the memorandum of understanding. And so these benefit programs, typically, historically, have a provision for what our personnel are entitled to or have a benefit to. If we don't put a dollar value, which we don't have to, then it leaves it subject to staff's budget approval, not an actual policy for personnel to go to ensure that they understand what programs they have entitlement to. As we pointed out into the staff report, that we've been in discussions with IBW. They haven't presented to their represented body yet because it hasn't been approved by the board. It's going to, through a letter of agreement or through amendment to the MOU or the future MOU, they're going to want, there's going to be a desire there to call out that benefit. And so we want to keep that in alignment. If the board chooses for us not to put the dollar value in district code and manage that as a program, we can do that. But it's going to create some uncertainty as to what the program, is it a policy or is it a program in the district that we manage internally? We're okay with it either way. It's just important, in my opinion, to set personnel policy in our personnel policy, which is outlined in district code. If it would be desirable for the board, staff can come back in a year and give a report out on the success of the program. What the uptake percentage was, what benefits, what wellness programs were subscribed to, not the individual staff, but kind of a collective aggregate data. Did we think it was well received or well utilized? Do we think that dollar value is appropriate? We can make adjustments in the future. Every year, this year we plan on coming to the board with a more comprehensive benefits management program with the comp and class study and a couple other projects. But historically, every year we've come to the board with adjustments to district code. So each of the last 3 years, district code has been amended for provisions with the unrepresented employees, salary increases, or things like that.
So, back again, just things that, if we're having this discussion and we're thinking about discussions we've had in the past and we're moving forward, I remember the last time we were in negotiations, with the represented employees, and it spurred a conversation about what can we do to attract and keep our employees. And the wellness program, or a wellness program, was discussed, and we asked staff to speak to the employees and come back with things that they want. And I think that's what we're seeing here. And we want our employees to take advantage of this program, right? That's the point, is we want them to use these funds and do things that make them well, emotionally and physically. And I think having a number associated with that helps that. People said helps them budget, helps them think about what it is they might want to use that for in a year. It's not a huge amount of money. It's $500. I think it just adds clarity to what, it does add clarity to what we're trying to accomplish. We want our employees to be well. We want them to see all of the variety of things that are available, and we want them to see that $500, and we want them to take it. We're not.
Let me try and make a compromise here. I appreciate the offer of the annual update, and maybe that's something we can codify, that as part of this program is an annual update to the board on the utilization of this program. And that way, we get a bite at the apple every year on whether we feel this program's effective or not. And if we don't, we can ask staff to consider removing it from code. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Now, but we should probably be getting this report prior to budget. Is that, I don't know,
We can, yes, it can be aligned with budget, but I think the dollar value probably is small enough that it's probably not too impactful.
and I want to hear, and I want to hear how it improved employees' work-life balance.
Good testimonials. Okay.
Okay, so.
Good job.
Can I summarize that we're going to move forward with staff's recommendations on all fronts and include language in the wellness program to have a annual update from staff to board on the
Effectiveness?
summary of the an annual summary of the program's effectiveness, uptake, and, any other recommendations or changes needed.
As long as you got annual in there, that's good.
He did.
He
I
did.
heard it.
No, I heard him
Yeah,
say it.
yeah.
Do we
That's
need to add
great.
anything about the vision benefit?
I think it's as presented, which covers all current and future
Right.
employees. And then we'll talk about that policy
Right, I think
at a different time.
we'll ask staff to bring back a discussion on
Retirees.
sort of all post-retirement benefits, and we can then talk about equity at that time. So,
Was that a motion?
Yes, it was. I did hear him.
Okay.
Steve, was that a good enough motion?
I think I understood it. I wrote it down.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Hey, we got a motion in a second.
The second?
Sarah, could we get roll call, please? Krista Finn.
Thank you.
Director Aguero,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Laliotis.
Yes.
Vice President Finn,
Yes.
President Bender.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice. Well, we only had one action item, but I think we converted it into 4.
So you guys got a lot of action out of us.
What, it was a good
Scott thought he
discussion.
was going to be home by now.
Good discussion, Jeff.
There was,
That
yeah,
was a good
that was,
discussion,
that was a
Jeff.
good, productive
And other board members.
discussion. I just need to find my place. Oh, wow, we've got a workshop now.
We have the exciting world of IT.
It is.
Everyone stays awake.
A somewhat terrifying world.
Okay, good evening, President Bender.
Oh, flip the switch. There we go.
Good evening, President Bender, members of the board. I am Scott Crow, the IT Director CIO. I'm here to present the IT roadmap as a workshop tonight. I want to start off by saying in my experience and generally speaking, when IT is in front of a board or Congress for that matter, it's generally not on a positive note. So I want to assure you that tonight I'm going to try my best to make it more positive for you. So when I first came to the district, I was presented with the rare opportunity of assessing the landscape of IT, providing the district with a fresh, outside perspective of the IT environment. The discovery phase for this assessment included evaluations of the state of current systems, comparisons against best practices and industry standards, review of existing documentation, and discussions with many of the district staff. Having a roadmap is a proven best practice approach used by many organizations to focus and steer large and complex technological undertakings. This roadmap creates the bridge between district strategies and the information systems that support them, and it highlights the business priorities for information technology within the district and the strategies and initiatives that will be required in future years. Overall, it identifies a strategic approach to information technology, carefully aligned with the district's business objectives and pragmatic actions. So as I went through this assessment, over 30 initiatives were determined and were grouped into 4 categories, which I'll cover in future slides. But, excuse me. But I'd like to talk a little bit about IT, and then I want to talk about icebergs. So in the past, we'll cover the past first. Historically, information technology came out of all of the work that was being done at a few elite universities and some clandestine government projects that were working on systems and communications during the 70s and 80s and before. As we started to see commoditized technology in the workplace in the late 80s and 90s, what we mainly saw was PCs and endpoint software, essentially word processing, standalone work, primitive networking, mainly internally to have connection internal to an organization, and where we saw large centralized mainframes and many computer-type systems was in very large organizations and governmental agencies, but was really for providing centralized computing power at dumb terminals that required scheduling, and this was because it was too expensive to have individual computers for processing needs. The mid to late 90s was really when the commercialization of networks took hold, and our traditional communications were being reshaped into digital formats. And the internet really allowed for this explosion in technology, both from a personal level, but important for this discussion as well on a business and commercial level. This explosion in IT was mainly due to the standardization of networking protocols that allowed for connectivity of systems over the internet. Standardization of network protocols was the first game-changing event for information technology. IT is a cost center, so from the beginning of using technology in business, IT has been considered a cost center, costs incurred, but revenue is not generated by IT. This continues to be thought of as the cost of doing business. If your competitors are using technology and you're not, then you're not competitive. So IT is a necessary cost to compete. And looking at the history of district IT, I think unofficially we can say that IT started here at the district when the GIS system was brought here over 20 years ago. And we see over the course of that time more technology being introduced and more systems being built to accommodate efficiencies for our workforce. At some point in the not-so-distant past, the IT department was formally created here due to the need to more formalize the efforts needed to support these new technology requirements. So looking at the present here, I've been in this field for more than 35 years, and in my estimation, there have been two major event courses that have had such an impact on IT that stand above all else from a big picture perspective. The first event I mentioned earlier was the standardization of networking protocols that allowed for connectivity of organizations across the internet. Connectivity of systems, devices, software, people, the ability to communicate and transfer data with ease. This first explosion of technology allowed for the emergence of what now is referred to as enterprise computing. Enterprise computing refers to the information technology infrastructure, the systems, the applications that businesses and complex organizations use to manage and process their data on a large scale. This typically includes servers, networks, databases, and software that enable efficient and secure data management and high performance to meet the demands of complex organizational processes. Why this is important is because it refers to the large-scale deployment of technology that serves the needs of businesses and organizations with a robust, reliable, and secure IT infrastructure. So the present of the cost center in IT, unless you're in the business of IT itself, unless that is your business, IT will continue to be considered a cost center. But IT is not thought of as the cost of doing business anymore. Information technology now has the capability of driving ever greater efficiencies in processes and procedures and in the way that we work. The president of District IT. We are in the process of what is termed in the business world as digital transformation. This is the integration of digital technology into all areas of business, fundamentally changing how you operate and deliver value to your customers. It's also a cultural change that requires organizations to continually challenge the status quo, experiment, and evaluate processes and efficiencies. So although digital transformation will vary widely based on an organization's specific challenges and demands, there are a few common elements stated that we see enumerated by business leaders. First element is customer experience, the value to the customer. This is not only our electric and water customers, but it's also our employees as well. The second element is operational agility, how well a company can adapt its everyday processes, technology, and operational procedures to changing market expectations. Third element is culture and leadership, which is essential to the success of all of this. Not only having leadership open to new ideas and efficient processes, but having an expectation that our workforce will commit to new ideas and new ways of doing things. Building a culture that not only accepts change, but embraces change. This is the challenging of status quo. The fourth element is workforce enablement. I really couldn't find a definition that I like, so very concisely, workforce enablement is providing our workforce with the tools they need when they need them to be more efficient, agile, and to better do their jobs. And then the last element is digital technology integration. The integration of digital technology into all areas of the organization is fundamental for changing how the organization operates and delivers value to our customers. And as I said, customer means everyone that technology serves. So yes, we at the district are a model of enterprise computing, presently due to our complexity, no doubt. But we have started down this digital transformation path and have made great strides to date. And now let's talk about icebergs. So an iceberg is more than meets the eye, right? You have what's above the waterline, and these are the things that are clearly visible, and then everything that's below, which is visible to very few. This visible part of the iceberg is about 10% of the entire iceberg. And the invisible part is about 90%. And so this is a perfect analogy for information technology. This is what the users of technology see. This is the 10%, right? This is what they interact with on a daily basis, their tools, the way they do their work. And this is what they see. This is what, to them, this is what IT is about. This is what IT does. So let me go over there. Oh, I want to say real quick as well that I'm going to show a bunch of pictures here. None of these pictures that are not ours. These are all just representations of the things that we do here. So email, right here. To this day, and across industries and age groups, email is still the #1 preferred method of communications in the business. We have telephones that we use here to communicate with our customers. We have the cell phones that we use out in the field for our operations groups. Here's a representation of our computer workstations, the things that we use at our desk, right? The monitors, computers, scanners, printers, laptops, any of those types of items that we use. Digital mobile radios. These are the radios that the crews use out in the field for communications with themselves. Here's a call center. This is used for efficient communications with our customers as well as provides advanced call metrics. Dashboards and Excel. These are great tools for displaying and analyzing vast amounts of data collected at the district. Here we have a wall of video screens for our site perimeter cameras. This is for the protection of our people and for our property. We have collaboration platforms right here like Teams or Zoom that we use to communicate with people external, our contractors, folks like that. We have these are representations of some field tools that are used out in the field. Things like that they use on their handsets and their tablets, like vegetation management or mapping tools that the crews use out in the field. Here's a SCADA display for real-time monitoring and control of our electric and water utility. This little icon here is App Suite, which gives us remote access to work in our ERP system for things like time entry, invoice approvals, and outage details, just to name a few. So this is what the users see. This is what users think IT does. Yes, IT does do this, but here is the other 90% of what IT does that users don't see. So this is the 90% that they don't see, and this is the enabling portion of everything. We have here custom computer code used for data integrations and GIS and system scripting. We have database schema design, which we use to build out our data repository infrastructure for our district's business intelligence environment, not only for reporting, but with the goal of forecasting as well as the ongoing upkeep of our data environment. We have Wi-Fi heat maps for determining best signal coverage at our sites. From a networking perspective, we have switches, routers, wireless access points, we have firewalls, we have our cable plant, which is the internal Ethernet cabling in the building, our fiber that connects our sites across our district. We have logical network designs for engineering proper networks. We have system infrastructure here that houses our servers for all of our systems. Industry standards have an administrator to server ratios anywhere between 1 and 30 to 1 and 50. Here at the district, we have over 20 servers, or I'm sorry, 200 servers. We have data centers, which include large UPS systems, server racks, data center networking, HVAC systems. We also have a third witness site that doesn't require this type of infrastructure, but another site. Here's a representation of a site, one of our sites, that this is an LTE site. We have 20 LTE sites that don't have fiber connectivity, so that we use LTE service, which includes, at each one of these sites includes a router, switch, wireless access point, externally mounted antennas, cabling, and a UPS. In addition, we have 52 sites that have fiber that provide high-end, resilient, and redundant connectivity, and at each site has a router, a switch, a wireless access point, and UPS. Here's a representation of our digital mobile radio system. This is the connectivity infrastructure for our field crews. We have 3 towers, 6 repeaters, 65-plus radios. This shows our advanced metering infrastructure, our AMI. We have 2 of those. We have one for water, one for electric. The electric AMI has 28 collectors and 102 data concentrator units. Our water AMI has 27 collectors, all to get data information, meter information. Here is a representation of our sites with cameras, right? We have 120 perimeter cameras for site visualization. Other items of note, we have 2 microwave towers for point-to-point networking, 62 telephone handsets, and a back-end phone system infrastructure. We have 110 cellular lines for handsets, field mobile devices, and site LTE connectivity. So I tried to cover some of the most important aspects of the 90%, but there's much more. Actually, when I was working on this, I got so many pictures that you couldn't tell there was an iceberg and it was covering everything up. And so, again, I got carried away. I pared it down. I think you get the idea, though. This 90% also includes all of the administration, the maintenance, and the support from both a physical and logical aspect. The 10% includes this same care and feeding, but it also includes the support for the end user of that technology. So I talked about earlier the first game-changing event for information technology being the standardization of networking protocols that allowed for the ubiquitous connectivity of organizations to communicate across a common platform, the internet. The second game-changing event, in my opinion, occurred roughly around 10 years ago, and it's due to cybersecurity threats and breaches. This has driven the IT industry to better technology and ways of doing IT to counteract these threats by both software and hardware mechanisms to combat breaches. As important, it has made organizations aware of security like never before, and it has changed the landscape around IT funding levels. So I'll talk more a little bit later on cyber infrastructure. Cyber security. I talked about the past, I talked about the present, and so the question now is, what does the future hold for IT? And the answer is, I don't know. Prognosticators are generally wrong most of the time, at the very least in their timelines, and more often than not, completely wrong about technologies. What I will say is, just as networking has exponentially driven the usefulness of technology, and security has driven the expansion of innovation and has changed expectations and the understanding that money needs to be spent on securing assets, from what I am seeing of things that products and organizations and people are currently doing with artificial intelligence, AI may potentially drive both innovation in technologies as well as securing of assets with better efficiencies, both procedurally and more cost effectively, and potentially even make all of us better at what we do. So the future of the cost center, I believe IT will always be a cost center, but in today's day and age, IT is just a part of the organization's work, including securing the organization, and we have to be okay with spending money on IT in a responsible, efficient, and cost-effective manner. The future for district IT. We will continue to progress our digital transformation and will work on building a district culture of efficiency and effectiveness with our technology for our customers, which include electric and water customers and our employees. So now on to the IT roadmap categories. So as I mentioned during this assessment, there were over 30 initiatives that were put into 4 categories. First category here is district systems and applications. This is the systems and applications that have an effect on the entire district or of such importance that a failure would be catastrophic to a major component of district business. Some of the initiatives in this category are listed here. I'll go through these. GIS system and database upgrade. Due to turnover, our GIS environment was in need of some work. This included upgrading the environment to a supportable version and cleaning up the database. Outage management system, this is about introducing an OMS within our ERP system, allowing for quicker outage predictions and resolution, as well as better outage communications for our customers. The contact center, this is used for efficient communications with our customers, as well as provides for advanced call metrics. The Eclair upgrade is about upgrading our water AMI system. Cloud VoIP telephony, this is the replacement of our legacy phone systems for better resiliency, maintenance, and cost effectiveness. Microsoft 365 is a computing ecosystem that provides applications such as email, collaboration, phone system, file storage, Office suite, an extensive security stack, and many other modern computing solutions, all for per-user subscriptions. Advantages of this change are many. A few important advantages to mention are robust security, reduced hardware costs and support, modern, always updated applications, and allows us to advance the digital transformation element of workforce enablement. And then lastly, enterprise resource planning. This is the evaluation of our current ERP environment to determine how we are using our current services and look at other services that are available and how they can help us become more efficient and effective. Especially with ERP systems, organizations often make the mistake of trying to force an ERP to do the organization processes the way they've always done them. ERPs are large systems with a set of tools and processes that are minimally customizable. Many ERP projects have failed mainly because of cost overruns of trying to customize the ERP to exactly what organizations have done. It is best to reevaluate current processes to see how they can be fit into the chosen ERP with minimal changes. And here's a rough timeline of those particular initiatives in that category. I'll point out here before I move on, again, this is a living document. This will change. This should be evaluated on a regular basis to determine are the initiatives where we need to be going, make corrections. Again, the roadmap, are we headed down the right path? Next category is cybersecurity. It's the protection of hardware, software, and data that are exposed to the internet from malicious cyber threats and attacks. This protection comes in the form of policies, procedures, and systems put into place to prevent unauthorized access to an organization's data centers and other computerized systems. Security isn't important until it is. So it's kind of fitting. I got an email the other day that kind of fit right in here. So it was from a company that had a security breach, and the customers were storing video camera feeds in the cloud, and the data was compromised. The company spent time explaining at a high level how the breach occurred and apologized to all their users. At the end of the email, they went on to explain how important they believe security to be. So much so that now they hired security personnel to assure their user base that they were taking the breach seriously. The best time to prioritize security efforts is before you need them. Some of the initiatives in this category are multi-factor authentication. This requires more than just a username and password to authenticate to resources. I looked it up. The most common password in this country is still 123456. And even if more complex passwords were being implemented, bad cyber actors unfortunately still have ways to get past it. MFA requires something that you have, like an authentication application or a confirmation text on your phone. It requires something that you are, like a fingerprint or a face scan. And it requires something that you know, like a PIN number or a password. And although it is said that 99% of user-involved breaches are prevented by using MFA, this has been proven wrong due to many factors that I'm not going to go into. But what is true is that MFA does, in fact, add another layer, albeit very large layer of protection, where we are working towards, we need to go to zero trust, and we're working on that iteratively. Cyber attackers and criminals use email as their communication channel of choice to spread malware and viruses, steal sensitive data, deploy ransomware and phishing attacks, and manipulate users into divulging confidential information. Email security is a multi-layered approach which includes organization verification, encryption, threat protection, and email policies for data protection, just to name a few. The Data Governance Initiative, at a minimum, this will include guidelines for data quality, data security, and data access. This is a security initiative about protecting data from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, modification, or destruction. It involves establishing controls and procedures to ensure that sensitive data is secure, including encryption, access controls, monitoring, and incident response. This initiative is also about the overall management of district data. It involves establishing policies and processes and standards for how data is collected, stored, analyzed, and shared. And then lastly, the cybersecurity program. This helps organizations build a defense against malicious threat actors and other information security threats. This involves physical as well as digital defenses. Building a security framework to identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover is the goal of a cybersecurity program. A cybersecurity program is never static. There will always be areas to improve, new vulnerabilities to correct, policies to update, assessments to conduct, new technologies to incorporate, and so forth. Here's a timeline for those initiatives, and that last statement, you can see that timeline is across a 5-year period. So, all right, the third category. IT infrastructure encompasses the underlying components that together allow for systems and applications to work. These components include networking, which I've already said is fundamental, servers, inside-outside cable plant, computer workstations, storage, other communication infrastructure such as cellular equipment and radios. Some of the initiatives in this category are listed here. This FirstNet evaluation, early issues with, we've had some early issues since I came with a few of our LTE sites losing connectivity due to being on the fringe of service, as well as the cell network being oversaturated when things are happening in the town of Truckee and there's a lot of people here. What the FirstNet is, it's a first responder network, cell network available, again, to first responders and utilities like us that give us priority on communication. So even when the network's oversaturated, we get priority over anyone else on that network. We found as well that this particular service provides us a little bit better coverage at some of those sites that we were having poor connectivity as well too. So digital mobile radio evaluation, this was another one that I heard early on that some of the crews were having some issues with connectivity out in the field, experiencing loss of radio service in certain locations that may be on the fringe of coverage. And so this is providing a survey of our coverage area to determine so that we know where we can expect to have poor coverage, and then also to offer options of how to maybe correct that. I want to point out, with any type of wireless type signal, whether it's cell or Wi-Fi or RF or any of that, it's never going to be 100%. So we're trying to work on ways to improve that. The hyper-converged infrastructure, this is the evaluation of our current environment for improvements in technologies and costs. This is our environment that houses our servers and all of our systems infrastructure. This one has a potential of some large savings if we can find a way to do something a little different. So we're looking into that. Firewall sizing and replacement. Our firewalls were so oversized that the cost of the annual support was enough to purchase properly sized firewalls that were newer and were next generation firewalls. So that is what this is about. And then equipment lifecycle. This describes the lifespan or longevity of our computing equipment physical assets. There are many classes of equipment that have different lifespans, and this initiative is about replacing the appropriate numbers of equipment in each class annually to maintain supportability, functionality, and allow for us to continue to be able to receive manufacturer-provided security updates as they become available. And here is a roadmap for schedule for some of that. And then lastly is the category of IT operations. This is the support and maintenance functions for all of the IT systems and user support. This includes the processes, procedures, as well as the labor that's used to maintain the network, applications, servers, data centers, and workstations. This initiative in this category is focused primarily on improvements in IT best practices. So listed here, we have the Wi-Fi survey and engineering for sites and headquarters. And as I mentioned, network connectivity is the foundational piece for our technology. Field crews must have reliable, high-speed connectivity when they're in the field. Doing site surveys will allow us to appropriately locate connectivity where it's most convenient and efficient for the crews to get connectivity when they're out at the sites. Equipment life cycle schedules and budgeting. Each equipment class has a different timeline for replacement. This initiative is about building these schedules and the appropriate budgeting. This helps to normalize the funding since the costs are spread out annually instead of at the end of the life cycle. As an example, a class would be network switches. Let's say we have 100 switches. They may have a life cycle of 9 years. The schedule would be, we would want to replace a ninth of those every year to maintain that supportability and to maintain the ability to have, the features that come out and that we're not running 9-year-old equipment till the end. It also helps with the CapEx, OpEx thing as well. SCADA roadmap. We continue to improve on our water SCADA, but with the new electric director, there's work to understand the needs and develop a new eSCADA system. Work is ongoing in electric to identify their specifications and their requirements. And with the SCADA engineer and myself, we'll be working from an IT side to help determine the appropriate alerting and controls, as well as build an appropriate user interface for these new requirements and controls. And then IT staff training and development. We spend more time at work than everything else in our life. So I believe the organization and the employee should work together to help develop and train our staff to help make a better, happier person for their sake and for the district. And then here is a roadmap for those initiatives or schedule. And then, as I said, this should be changing. These are some initiatives that came about after I completed this. So I threw them in here as other. We have Security Operations Center. This is about developing a 24/7 operations center to continually monitor and evaluate security threats. District staff security and IT training program. It is a fact that employees are the weakest link in IT security. It has been shown that when they are exposed to cyber risks like phishing, social media, and other attack vectors, security awareness training can reduce the organization's risk by as much as 70%. So building a security program as well as a training program as well as an IT training program for providing snippets of education to staff on common things that they do and we get questions about, and so helping them in those education. Redundant backhaul connection, the internet. We have a single connection to the internet here at the district. We continue to experience issues with this connectivity. With our last outage, we experienced an outage of almost 2 days. A redundant circuit will allow us to maintain our connectivity to continue the work of the district. This circuit will provide redundancy in many ways, such as we'll get a different carrier, we'll get a separate path, We'll have a separate connectivity at a different location, all tied together through our own district fiber. And then business intelligence program and platform. The district has many sources of data, and this will create an infrastructure for a central repository for integrations to these many data sources, allowing for an authoritative source of data for reporting, potentially allowing for forecasting of future outcomes, maybe even using AI. This program will also be an extensive participant in the data governance initiative. So these are but some of the initiatives from this discovery and assessment. I want to say, like all strategic plans, this is a living document, and it should be evaluated on a regular basis to ensure that we're on the correct path, and that changes will inevitably be made to not only the initiatives, but the timelines as the needs arise. So in conclusion, all of this is IT. As we go about our normal daily lives, I hope that from time to time we'll take the moment to not just think about IT from a technology consumer's perspective, but maybe think about some of the things discussed here tonight, maybe about what goes on behind the scenes or below the waterline. These are the things that make the applications, the tools, all the technology that you use in your workplace to make all of this work, including the people that are helping you and supporting you. So this is all of IT right here. There's no direct fiscal impact associated with this informational workshop. And the recommendation is to receive this report and provide input to staff.
Thank you, Scott, for enlightening us on the 90%. So, no, I'm not kidding. Thank you.
No,
Now
thank
I
you.
know what cyber is.
Yeah. Heck yeah, IT 101, baby. Yeah, so thank you. All right, any public input on our IT roadmap workshop? All right.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna let
That was a
Tony
good
talk
report.
first.
I mean, that was.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I don't know if that was IT 101. I think that was AP IT.
Yeah, IT AP.
You must have gone in school a long time.
No, I mean, yes, we take a lot of things for granted as non-IT people, and we certainly appreciate the professionals in the industry who do the other 90%, and make sure that the other 90% is there and functioning, and keeping the other 10% happy. No, and the security is huge. I appreciate the time you spent on that. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA in your world, is super critical, as we all are experiencing that more and more in our own daily lives, is what we do and how we access things, and are now required to have our cell phone basically give us access to practically everything in the world that we own or have. So it's, hopefully that lasts as a decent security roadblock for a while.
One can hope.
Yeah, there's always new challenges around the corner, because there's a lot of smart people in this world who want to do nefarious things, so.
Well, it's funny you say that, the MFA, one of the things that came up was how people are getting around MFA, and it's not technical. It's basically people, the hackers, sending you these email requests over and over and over and over to the point you give up and just okay it.
Yeah. No, there's so much out there, and we appreciate all the hard work and effort, and, I can only imagine some of these things sometimes keep you up at night too, as with other things technical for me. So appreciate the information, and appreciate continually pushing the district to find new ways to utilize technology to create efficiency and benefit our customers. So thank you.
Jeff's probably afraid to look at me. Okay,
Yeah,
Kim, what's she gonna say? No, Scott, thank you very much. I mean, I can't thank IT and the support that you give the district on protecting our assets and giving employees the tools that are needed to, take us to the next level. As somebody who lived through the town of Truckee cyber attack, it is an amazing process to have to start teaching and training your staff to not be the weakest link. And it's difficult. I mean, I think I get probably like 10 emails a week personally and at work, people trying to change their payroll data. I'm like, yeah, right. So report that and, try to block people, but there's still shysters out there. And, but I appreciate everything that you and your staff do. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that, and it's about awareness is what here, but this is what I do. The staff is really who makes all this stuff happen, and I clearly couldn't do this without them, so thank you.
You're a good manager. You always give all the credit to the staff, and I appreciate that.
Hey.
ITAP.
He's kind of quiet all the time. He's kind of low-key, but.
It's called IT.
Oh, it is? All right. I bet you went to school a long time for all that.
And a long time ago.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I bet. Thank you, Scott. That was a good report.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Exactly the same. Yeah, that was a good report. I'm one of those people that is happily oblivious to the 90%. I like it that way. I appreciate all you IT people do to keep people like me functional. When you get right down to it, all of our systems are completely infused with IT, right? There's nothing really that happens without IT in this world at this time. So I'm very grateful that we have you and people like you to help us make it through this future that we've got. So maybe you can help me. How fearful should I be of our future AI overlords on a scale of 1 to 10?
No, Scott, don't you remember? Scott said this is a positive.
It could be 0. I should be perfectly sanguine about it.
It's about 8:30. I don't know that you want to get into that conversation.
I'm just teasing you. I don't expect you to know the answer to that.
I know it, but I won't say it.
Who?
No,
We'll talk later. We won't keep everybody else up with this.
Yeah, thank you again, because I don't think we've ever had this kind of an in-depth workshop on IT.
We never have, that I don't remember.
For my time on the board. So the roadmap, all the objectives, so really, really appreciate that. And I was just thinking, I love that, I'm really liking the updates, and I feel a heck of a lot more knowing what's going on, just as a board member, because we're only here 6 p.m. later, first and third Wednesdays. So it's just nice getting that in-depth information from everyone, and thank you for this IT AP workshop and the updates from everyone. Just really, it's nice to know as a board member what the heck's going on, and we really appreciate that. So for all the insight.
Well, the fact that you vote on this stuff, you probably should know, right? So
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, I think we've got some, I'm trying to get there. We got some routine business, treasurer's report for March 2024. We have approved preliminary fund balances for month of December 2023, approved disbursements for the month of January 2024, paying the bills that have already been paid, accept report of semi-annual delinquent account write-offs by the treasurer, and D, accept report of annual employee vehicle use. Any public comment on item 16, treasurer's report? Any comments questions from the board? Is there a motion?
I'll move.
To accept the report and also pay the bills.
Thank you.
I'll second.
That's my motion.
Okay, we got a motion from Joe, a second from Tony. Roll call, please.
Director Aguera,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Laliotis.
Yes.
Vice President Finn,
Yes.
President Bender.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike, you can pay the bills.
All right. All right, we've got item number 17 now. We're going to go into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2. Conference with legal counsel, exposure to litigation, 3 cases. So we're going to take a short break and then head into the back room. All right. Thank you, everyone.